Good afternoon, everyone. It is a great honour to be asked to say a few words in recognition of George Dunn's achievements today. George studied economics and agricultural economics at the University of Nottingham before completing a master's degree at Reading University. He worked as an agricultural economist at the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Food, fondly remembered as MAF by those of us of a certain age, followed by 3 years at the Country Land and Business Association, known to us all as the CLA, as a rural economics advisor, before being recruited to the post of Chief Executive of the Tenants Farmers Association in 1997, a position he has now held for 27 years. George has also been a member of the National Trust's Property Committee and its Rural Enterprise Panel, as well as serving as a National Trust Specialist Volunteer on land use and governance issues. He has also served as a trustee of the Farming Community Network, serving as its chairman for some of that time. George has been recognised for his tireless work on behalf of tenant farmers for over 25 years, fighting their corner, raising awareness of the issues that they face. He has promoted members' interests in tandem with making a huge contribution to the landlord-tenant sector and agriculture more widely. He has established himself as a key advocate for tenants' issues, as well as for farmers and the rural way of life. George has represented the TFA on the Rock Review Tenancy Working Group and the Tenancy Reform Industry Group, both of which have overseen substantial changes to the way that the landlord and tenant relationship operates. George was made an associate of the Royal Agricultural Societies in 2006 and a fellow in 2011. He was presented with the Farmers Weekly Lifetime Achievement Award in 2022 and the Outstanding Contribution to British Farming Award at the British Farming Awards in 2023. Vice-Chancellor, I present to you for admission to the degree of Doctor of Laws Honoris Causa, George Dunn.
By virtue of the authority vested in me, I admit George William Dunn to the degree of Doctor of Laws Honoris Causa of this university. Congratulations, George. Thank you.
Wow. Oh, I've just dropped my degree. There we are. It's the first mistake. No refund, they say. Okay, I'm very grateful for the opportunity just to say a few words in response to the tremendous, generous accolade that you have just bestowed upon me. Firstly, huge thanks to you, Vice-Chancellor, and to the wider Harper Adams University community for deeming me appropriate to be awarded an honorary doctorate of this eminent institution. I also want to thank my family for the space and unstinting support that it has provided to me for the work that I do, and I'm very pleased to say that my wife and eldest of my 3 daughters are here today to celebrate alongside me on the front row here. And part of that unstinting support was my wife driving me up this morning so that the work of the TFA could continue in the passenger seat of the car. But when Professor Sloan wrote to me last summer to explain that the Honorary Awards Committee of the university had selected me as a recipient of an honorary doctorate, I responded by saying I was surprised, I was humbled, but delighted in equal measures. The surprise was truly because I was not in the least expecting it, nor did I have any inclination that I would be in the running for such a special honour. Having been raised in the relatively humble surroundings of the terraced streets of East Belfast, it never ceases to amaze me that I'm looked upon as an advocate of our great agricultural industry, and in particular its vital and hard-working tenanted sector. My work within the Tenant Farmers Association and more widely within the farming and rural sectors has taken me to places and put me in the company of individuals that as a cheeky lad with a dubious school record, I couldn't even have dreamt about. In fact, I probably would have laughed at you had you told me of the experiences that I have ended up having. And I pray that I won't lose that surprise on a daily basis. It keeps me grounded, keeps me focused on task, keeps me grateful. However, as I've sought to be as diligent as I can be in putting one foot in front of another, in advancing the causes that I've been given responsibility to take forward, it is of course rewarding and humbling when others recognize the benefit of the work that you're doing and seek to shine their own light on it. It reminds me of the account of the parable of Jesus in the Gospel of Luke about not taking the best seats at a feast, better to take the lowest place so that when the host sees you, they can move you up to a better place. And for those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. So it's also humbling to be granted this amazing honor in the presence of you all as you harvest the benefit of your hard work in receiving your well-earned and valuable degrees. My congratulations to you all. And my delight in receiving this, it's truly wonderful to be able to add an honorary doctorate from Harper Adams University to my bachelor's degree from Nottingham and my master's degree from Reading, and I look forward to a long-running association with Harper, and in particular in assisting the university in delivering its 2030 vision, which, as you know, is together we will make the difference. And you all in this room have a role to play in this, and if you go away remembering just one thing that I have said, let it be this: make a positive difference. Many of you will be at the start of both successful and fulfilling careers. Make a decision today that wherever you find yourselves, you will make a positive difference. I referred to my surprise at some of the places I have ended up. However, some of the most special places that I have been are to the farm kitchens of numerous TFA members and other farm families throughout the country. These are truly hallowed places where both the complexities of business and family combine almost uniquely. It's the hub of the farm where decisions are made, worries are shared, successes are celebrated, business is done, meals are enjoyed, and life is recorded. They hold space for memories, deep memories that will resound around the walls for generations past and generations future. And many of yourselves will find yourselves in professional roles that will take you into these special places. And I would ask you, when you do, to remember the need, when you're there, to make a positive difference. Yes, you have a job to do, and you've got to do it well, but it's also important to put yourself in the shoes of those with whom you are engaging, so that whatever mark you leave will make a positive difference. In 2007, I was invited by Savills to address its assembled mass of professional land agents from around the country and a number of its selected clients at a Gloucestershire place of learning, which for obvious reasons shall remain nameless today. And it's where I first met my good friend and sparring partner, Clive Beer, who I have lovingly referred to as the nastiest landlord's agent that I've known. The nicest landlord's agent sat on the stage, actually, Mr. Peter Nixon here with the National Trust. However, I remarked to that audience that it wasn't often the case that a mere representative of the tenant proletariat got so close to a whole chapter of the Mayfair Mafia with its impressive list of landlord clients, and by its own invitation. And it seems today, if you were to have a similar circumstance, it would be the equivalent of inviting Kamala Harris to address the Republican National Convention. In advance of my attendance, I told Hugh Cohill, who was then the head of rural for Savills, that the title of my talk would be Landlords, Agents, Modern Day Pharisees. And I was asked whether I had intended to include a question mark with that. I said I advised that it was deliberately chosen as a full stop. It was a statement, not a question. However, I did assure him that my comments would be tongue-in-cheek whilst attempting to deliver a very serious message, and I'm sure Clive remembers it Well, I took chapter 23 of the Gospel of Matthew as my text when Jesus castigates the Pharisees and teachers of the religious law for their behavior and their treatment of people when they should have known better. He talked about being legalistic, about imposing heavy burdens without providing any assistance to bear those burdens, bigging up their own importance at the expense of others, being blockers rather than facilitators, training others to take a similar hard-nosed approach, sticking to the letter of the law rather than looking for pragmatic solutions, showing no mercy or empathy, saying one thing and doing another. In some respects, I'm quite surprised to be stood here to tell the tale, actually. But nevertheless, in my daily engagement with tenant farmers I represent within the TFA, stories of strained relationships as between landlords and tenants, more usually, I'm afraid, between landlords' agents and tenants abound. And it's often the case that contractual and relationship barriers get in the way of the development of resilient businesses or in forwarding plans that would improve environmental outcomes from tenanted holdings, or even just to ensure that the farm kitchen is a happy place for the family. I must admit to have been floored by the results of a survey carried out by the TFA a few months ago, which underlined the size of the problem that exists within the landlord-tenant sector within agriculture. We found that 30% of respondents to our survey felt bullied or harassed by their landlords, and 37% felt bullied or harassed by their landlords' agents. And 70% of respondents reported that they did not even have regular meetings with their landlords, which is no basis upon which to build a positive, collegiate, collaborative relationship. However, it is exceptionally good news, therefore, that the industry has come together to produce a government-backed code of practice for advising on conduct within the landlord-tenant sector of agriculture, and indeed, one of Harper's own, the great Charles Cowap, was the principal author of the code, and it was a pleasure to work with him on a working group established by the Farm Tenancy Forum on creation of that code. It's a shame in this day and age that we need a code which tells people how to behave, but it's clear that we need clarity around the rules of conduct. For too long, tenants have felt marginalized, mistreated, and the code of practice is therefore a major step forward for the sector. Whilst I'm not naive enough to think in itself the code will resolve all of the current problems, it will provide an important touch point and call people out for bad practice. And to my mind, it's all about the people. And I hope and pray that you will all have successful and fulfilling careers that enable you to meet your life goals, but do not forget the people with whom you come into contact. I often say that I work for the Tenant Farmers Association, not the Tenant Farming Association. At the end of the day, it's about the people more than the system. And as chair of the Farming Community Network, I led the organization through a change of name. It had been previously known as the Farm Crisis Network. Not only was that word crisis a barrier to those who should have sought support earlier, but did not see themselves in crisis, even though they clearly were. It was also a concern that we were focusing on the problem and not the solution. The solution is the people, the solution is the community, and the solution is the networks that exist within the farming communities. And what a great accolade to Jack and support for his family today, which moved me to tears. So if I can finish with one last scriptural quote from Mark 8, when Jesus said, "For what shall it profit a man if he gain the whole world and lose his own soul?" Be successful, but also every day, in every way, make a positive difference. Thank you so much again for your kindness.